As Mr. Pappalardo said, we'll increase our mortgage receipts. Nothing's being done to bring new people into this community.
Mr. LaSource, time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. On to the next question. I'll read it 2 times. And in full disclosure to the audience, I will make mention of it's the TPC is the Transportation Partnering Committee. This is a New York State Department of Transportation subcommittee that is connected to the study of 684 that's taking place. And in full disclosure, I asked Supervisor Peter Parsons if I could join him during the TPC meetings that take place on a monthly basis in our community. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of that. Again, TPC is a Transportation Partnering Committee, and this is a Department of Transportation meeting that's held on a monthly basis with people that are appointed from the town board to represent their community and the concerns that the 684 corridor presents to towns like Bedford, Lewisboro, North Salem, and so on. The study goes from exit 4 in Bedford up through the 84 interchange, and it also involves the MTA train stations in that area as well. So with that long preamble that I've given to the audience and the candidates, the question is, what input, if any, would you give to the TPC, the Transportation Partnering Committee, that meets on a monthly basis with those studying the 684 corridor with regards to Golden's Bridge? What input, if any, would you give to the TPC, if any, with regards to any improvements for the 684 corridor as well as the MTA platform that runs through our community? So we're going to start with John, and then to Greg, and then to Dan.
In terms of the protocol, can I respond to things that the other candidates said and use my time for that, or do I have to?
You can, what do we say? Would we agree to that?
Yes.
We agree, so you can eat into the 3 minutes? Okay, we're in agreement. Yes, you can
So
take part of your 3 minutes.
I just want to come back to the zoning on Old Bedford Road that Mr. LaSource made mention to, because that is a concern to me. And I actually asked our town attorney to meet with the planning board attorney and also the planning board chair to discuss that proposed zoning amendment. I spoke with our town attorney as late as 6 o'clock tonight, and what he tells me is that the proposal, in fact, as modified, is not going to impact 10 parcels of property. It's only going to impact the community townhouse and possibly one other parcel of property. So that we continued that public hearing. I believe that public hearing is scheduled again for October 28th. I would encourage people to read the legislation online. I, for one, am going to read it very intently to make sure that, in fact, is the case. So I'm told that this zoning change, to the extent it's adopted, is not going to impact 10 parcels of property. And I think that's very important to the people on Old Bedford Road, some of whom may be here tonight. And in terms of the cost of the master plan, there are a lot of costs that are floating out there. There's no question about it. We met with a professor at the Pace Land Use Law School Center who came down and briefed us preliminarily on what some of the costs are. I also spoke with Kitley Koval, our county legislator, and she spoke to being able to do it much more economically than the professor from Pace did. So there's no question we have to cost that out. But we also have to look at it from a cost-benefit perspective. If we're going to invest in a master plan that ultimately will enable us to secure funds for the betterment of the community, we're going to have to evaluate it in that context. Okay, specific to the issue of the TPC in 684. So they're out there now working, right, on dealing with that exact corridor on 684, John. I know that because I'm sure I'm not the only one who encounters the traffic in the morning. We charged our supervisor as a board because we felt that by virtue of the fact that he is the supervisor, he should be the one that carries that baton with communicating with the TPC relative to the renovations or relative to the issue of 684. I know there's a mindset that we would love sound barriers out there. I would love
1 minute.
I would love sound barriers out there. I sit on my deck, I'm looking in this room, I do have neighbors, but I'm not sure there's too many people any closer to 684 than I am. If they come up with that money, that would be wonderful. I'm just not sure that's realistic. I'm not suggesting for the moment that we're not advocating that position, but I'm not sure it's realistic. I would like to see some upgrade in landscaping. I'd like to see, we had green reflectors out there at one point, which from a safety perspective were wonderful because they did not cause a distraction riding down 22 with the cars that were riding on 684. So we've asked our supervisor to put pressure on them, excuse me. You have to understand something when you're dealing with the Department of Transportation in New York State. We have zero leverage. We have absolutely zero leverage. They do what they want, and all we can do is try to become a presence in their life to the extent that we annoy them so they give us money to do some of the things that we're asking just to make us go away.
Time.
The supervisors, I understand,
Time.
have been trying to do that.
Okay, so getting back to the point of the zoning change, let's clarify a few issues. Number one, the reason why the zoning law, which originally did in fact indicate that there would be 10 potential parcels that could be changed, the reason why that zoning law was changed was primarily because of my efforts and my comments at the planning board meeting in advance of the town board meeting. We had a planning board meeting in the week before the town board meeting where I made very clear the problems that I thought were inherent in that potential zoning change, and our town engineer did in fact point out that there would be 10 potential parcels that could change. In light of my comments, it was my understanding, by virtue of my conversation with Peter Parsons, that they made these changes in advance of them knowing that I was coming to the September 23rd meeting. So they presented me when I went to the meeting with the changes, hopefully, I guess, to quell what I had to say. And by the way, I don't think John was present at that meeting. So maybe he's unaware that at that, maybe he's unaware that at that meeting, the mention was not that it was taken down to one parcel, but it would, and what they did was they changed the zoning to make it from a half acre to 6/10 of an acre of parcels that would be eligible. So in order to do that, they thought that might take it down to 8. If it's down to 1, then great. I guess what I had to say had a major impact in changing that zoning law. So I guess I'm happy for what I was able to do, but I'm not happy for the manner in which the zoning law was changed against running roughshod over the master plan. Now, in terms of the TPC issue, I think Golden's Bridge Lewisboro, unfortunately, has done the most dastardly thing it can do to 684 by passing the Wilder-Balter project. And I was very vehement about that. And there was a lot of issues when the environmental aspect of that thing was discussed and it was rammed through. But you may not be aware that exit 6A is at level F of traffic in the Department of Transportation categorization. So what that means, it's the worst level possible. There's no way to get worse. So if we add on all the cars that are coming in and out of the Wilder-Balter project on Route 42, there's no way to quantify how much worse it's going to make the traffic. And we've had traffic studies to show that we're going to be having 4 to 5 minute waits extending onto onto 684 to get off 684 onto 6A during the 5 to 6 p.m. hour. So in terms of telling us what we're going to do, we've already done the worst thing we can do for 684. All right, and I was against that. And again, you know, that issue with respect to that project and the transportation thing was completely glossed over. And this town didn't want to hear, the powers that be in this town, including some of my compatriots on the planning board, didn't want to hear that, but that's what it is. In terms of sound barriers, I'd do anything I could do to get the Department of Transportation to put those sound barriers up. I wouldn't throw up my hands and say nothing you can do.
Thank you.
I just want to respond first to Greg's comment that our Republican colleagues apparently, according to him, made a proposal that we should just go ahead and bond for the infrastructure stuff. I don't recall that. I don't know where you found that. Anyway, of course we started with the grant application modus because, you know, we're trying to get money and do it for the town in the most responsible way possible. So we gave that a good run. At this point, though, I say every time I go out there, which is frequent to work on the area, I see pedestrians and they're walking in unsafe conditions. So at this point, we've given it a try. It's time to go out and bond for it. But there was no proposal to go out and do that earlier on. As far as the 684 TPC activity, I would say just generically that we should be trying to promote the idea of some kind of community benefits fund. This is not untypical for a big project like this. I look over at the Tappan Zee project, and that project included funds for neighboring communities to enhance their streetscapes and bike and pedestrian situations. And in fact, a group over there, which was started as a consequence of the work that I do on Sustainable Westchester, and for a period I was the chairman of the Transportation and Land Use Committee for Sustainable Westchester, and I did organize meetings all over the county with people and encourage localities to start working with each other. The river towns did that, and as a consequence of coming together, they were able to make the case to the state that they should get some of those funds. But I think we should try to promote the idea that there should be community benefits funds as part of this project. And then I would try to apply them. Certainly the first priority is to get some kind of pedestrian timing and crosswalks at the intersection there, just to kind of put a flag in the ground, say, you know, this is actually a place where not only cars that are just rushing to get on 684 are inhabiting, but also people of all sorts of mobility situations. So I think that's worth giving a shot for that. That's what I would do with that particular item.
Okay, thank you. Go down to the audience. Okay. There are some cards that have not gotten back, so what I'm going to do now is, for people who do have questions, because there are people I see who have cards, and it looks like that this is going to be about the maximum audience tonight. If you have a question, if you could come up, and if you have a question, please state it. Please put your statement in the form of a question, okay? And again, remember, please make your statement in a respectful tone. So if are there any other people who have questions tonight? Maybe this is a phone in. I apologize, excuse me. So, I mean, but yes.
I just have a follow-up to the cable question. There's a current agreement, is there a term for that? Has it been renewed, or is it up for renewal, or what is the action plan? Everybody says they want to do it, but what's the framework of can we do it?
The answer to your question, at least from my perspective, is I don't know what a cable contract is up there. If you reach out to me, I can speak with the chair of that committee. I'm happy to get back to you. I don't know what to expect.
I mean, it's not, I think we're thinking of this in terms of some sort of exclusive contract. The contract doesn't stop other people from coming into town if they have some alternative service. So there's some term, it'll be up and be renegotiated, and the majority of that contract is all around the community benefit fund that comes out of that contract. But I don't think there's any limitation to FIOS or somebody coming in.
I may be wrong, but I think there is an exclusive from the television perspective of it.
FIOS is already in the community.
Yeah, we have FIOS in part of Golden's Bridge now. Fairmount has it. So we have a choice of either for internet, but we only have one choice for television. And Optum Cable uses that because they know we have no alternative to lock in that you have to have this one in order to get that one and all that kind of stuff. So I think it is an exclusive from the standpoint of the television. Otherwise, Verizon would have been offering a TV package.
There is a cable television committee in the town. Have you spoken to them?
No, I didn't even know there was.
There is.
Okay.
And you might want to address that and, speak to them about that.
Who's the chair of that, do you know?
I think Dean Travelino's involved with that. Is it Dean?
Yeah, Dean Travelino's the chair of the.
Okay.
And
It's
in
on the
terms of
website.
that, I mean,
On the
that's not
website.
an issue that I deal with on the planning board. So I mean, I wanna see
Yeah.
the best cable just like you.
Yeah.
You know, I wanna see the games, and I wanna see the shows. I mean, I noticed the other day that Optimum took off the whole series of channels from 370 on, and I'm clicking getting black, and know what the heck's going on here.
It was a great deal when it came in originally,
Right.
and that's, what, 30 years ago or
Right.
something, 20
Right.
years ago? But now that there is competition for it.
Right, listen,
We're
if
just
I'm on
locked
the
in.
board, I'm pushing for that, but I do think that there's probably a preliminary step you have to get to.
Okay.
And that's is it the antenna committee, or is it the cable committee? I think it's the cable committee. Yeah. And Dean's in charge of that.
I think it's also, Wolf, I think is also, I think it's Wolf.
So there's two people right now you can speak to, Dean Travellino and
Yeah.
Henry Wolf.
Yeah, I just might get a sense of what the term is on it, and if it comes up for renewal, then let's talk differently.
I agree.
Thank you.
very much.
I do think that my question was left at the table there. The question is,
Sorry.
no problem, because respectfully, it does appear that Supervisor Parsons is not helpful or focused into the handling of Golden's Bridge. At times in different meetings, it seems like he's not paying attention, he's not analyzing. Do you agree that Supervisor, Parsons is not focused on our part of the town of Lewisboro?
So if we could start with John, and then we'll go to Greg, and then Dan, so.
You know, sir, I'm always reluctant, I will respond to your question, but when a question involves somebody else, I like that person to be able to respond to it. I think that would be fair. I've worked with him for 9 years. I think that he absolutely has an interest in Golden's Bridge. I think that he cares about this town very much. I don't see in any way where he treats our hamlet any more disrespectfully, or I'm sorry, with any less respect than any of the other hamlets. I've lived in Golden's Bridge my whole life. I'm gonna be here probably for the balance, so if I felt otherwise, I would have been receded. But if you can give me some specific examples, I might be able to be a little bit more enlightened relative to that response.
Joe? I think Supervisor Parsons uses Golden's Bridge as a punching bag. And, right now, apparently on this board, you can do that. So if you've got a situation where there has to be something that's done, if you have to have a zoning change, if you want to put a housing project, Golden's Bridge is the place to do it. And we don't have we don't have a strong representation there. We've got two people from Golden's Bridge on the board, but I don't see Golden's Bridge being represented the way that I see some of the other hamlets being represented and being aggressively protected. So I tend to agree with you.
Again, I would agree with John, not to speak for Supervisor Parsons, but I will say that he has been active personally, putting in grants, again, following up on what I've done to try and get money for the intersection down here. He's been involved in the 684 discussions, both for the TPC and for the paving and all the rest of that. He worked with the DOT on a recent issue where the DOT was spraying pesticides along the side of the road, and apparently without any concern for local residents or pedestrians. So he's been actively engaged on many of the issues there, and trying to find solutions for these things. But beyond that, you should probably talk to him. I would like, if I could, also to speak to Greg, speaking of the zoning and everything. I know in the housing project there, and I would just like to say that on that count, as far as that project is concerned, when the whole housing issue came up and the lawsuit from the county lawsuit, my proposal at the time was that the town should actively go and try to create projects in the type of fashion that we would find most befitting of our community. At that time, that the other side of the board rejected that and spent all their time yelling and screaming about home rule, and how this was an outrage, and we shouldn't be forced to do this. And I was saying, there's money out there to be had, we should go after it, and try to create projects that create diverse housing, and get us out of the legal limelight, which is where we've been for years and years. We ended up with the project we had. It wasn't one that I would have proposed either, but it happened because we had to make changes to the code, because if we didn't, we were gonna get sued. So I think you need the context for these things. The project's there, it might have been nice if it was designed differently, but there is a context. We need to get actively involved in deciding what we want to do with our own town.
The reason
next.
why I came to that question, I'm sorry, is a couple of months ago, there was an email about the open spots on the planning board, and I did call, and I said I'd like to apply. He called me back and said, we need more people from South Salem on the planning board. So that was interesting twist.
I wasn't aware.
Well, that was pretty well known, yeah. And Rich Claren and myself are from Golden's Bridge. You know, I don't know what his thinking is, but I know that was said. In terms of the Wild of Baltimore project, I'd like to commend Dan for agreeing with me, and that's the way that affordable housing should be brought into this community. It's too bad it wasn't mentioned, in 2015 and 2016 when he was on the board, because I think someone like Dan Welsh being in opposition to the Wild of Baltimore project would have been meaningful. But this is the first I'm hearing of. So congratulations, thank you. It's a little late, but thank you.
Next question is from Mike Begley, and then the order is going to be Mr. LaSource, Mr. Welsh, and then Mr. Papalardo. Mike?
This question is directed to John. I'm just trying to connect two of your comments. The first one is where you said that as a board member, it's a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that you have a detailed understanding of the major contracts, negotiate the best favorable prices for all the contracts that the town enters into. The second one is, if that's your understanding, and you've been on the board for almost 10 years, how come you don't know the details of the cable contract?
I think my comment was that it's a fiduciary obligation of any and all board members, as the gatekeepers of taxpaying money, to make sure that there is competition that is introduced, so we can provide the essential services that are necessary to this town at the most competitive price. That's what I said. So that goes to process, it goes to procedure. Relative to the fact that I don't know when a cable contract expires, my perspective, if you think that is not.
Not necessarily that.
No, let me just respond. I haven't met my fiduciary obligation because I don't know if we sit here as we run an $11 million budget when our cable contract expires. I can't respond to that because I don't think that means that I don't know the details.
Well, I'm talking more about bringing additional competition in, because I think everyone in this room knows that Verizon tried to come into our community. Okay, I tried to have Verizon come into my house with television. They actually ran the cable into my house. And they came back and said, you know what, I can't put it in here. They were actually gonna put the internet into my house. They said, I can't put the internet in here because Optimum's got the cable in your house, and they have to re-cable my entire house to put internet service in. So I had a pretty long conversation with them about the television service. And they said that, years ago, they tried very hard to come into Lewisboro. Okay, and Lewisboro wouldn't let them in. Okay, and now, if you call up Pios, they really don't want to come in with cable. They want to come in with streaming. So maybe it's going to be a moot point when we all move to streaming television. Or, I've actually just switched my entire house on Hulu, DirecTV, to circumvent the whole problem with Optimum. But I'm just surprised that you and Mr. Welch, who have been on this board for almost 10 years, are still sitting here talking about how, at some point it's your responsibility and the fiduciary responsibility to enhance competition with the cable companies, where for the last 10 years, we've been sitting here with one option. So So what have you, and maybe to both of you, what have you done over the last 10 years to enhance competition for the cable TV companies?
What I've said is that the process of giving out contracts is to send it out for competition. If we have the same carrier that the voters have, and the services are reasonably good at a competitive price, then we've met that fiduciary obligation. Now, there's a lot packed into what you just said, and it's particular to your house in terms of cable coming in. You said years ago they were provided with a contract. I'm telling you our approach. Our approach is to try to provide services to this town at a price, a competitive price, to make sure that the service, you gotta let me finish that. So the service isn't compromised, and that it's at the most competitive price that we can secure for the people.
Look, you talked about how you run an $11 million budget. I run a $250 million budget. And I've never once in my entire career single sourced a product without having a competitive bid. Have you ever done that? Have you ever had a competitive bid rather than you sitting there thinking it's competitive? Have you ever checked with a competitive bid to see if you were in fact having a competitive bid?
The question I think is more appropriately asked, whether or not we saw a competitive bid the last time that the cable contract was entered into. Once you enter into a contract, you can't go out and seek additional competitive bids until, as this gentleman suggested, that contract expires.
So is this a perpetual contract? Because
No,
over the last
what
10
I
years.
said earlier, and we're getting back to your original question, what I had said earlier, is that I don't know the expiration date for that contract. And this is
Good.
what I
John, we're gonna-
suggested is like, I'll get the expiration date, and when it comes up for renewal, our intent would be to put it out for competitive bid, to again, provide the best service at the most competitive price.
We're gonna move on now, just to, again, because there are other people that have come in as well. If there's time, Mike, if there's time, we can readdress that later on. Jane?
I was just gonna ask if Peter Parsons provided any reason for not showing up?
Mr. Parsons had said that,
He's actually in Naples, Florida.
Okay, thank you.
yep.
At a wedding.
And was there another question from over here on this
In
side?
fairness to Jane, you
Okay.
should explain to her there
I have a
was no
question about
response.
cell coverage. Cell coverage in our part of Golden's Bridge is not very good. What's the board's candidate's approach to getting better cell service in Golden's Bridge?
The order is, we'll start with Mr. LaSource, and then Mr. Welsh, and then back to Mr. Papalardo.
Well, there is a cell tower that's supposed to go up on Route 138, and they keep coming in front of the planning board and keep getting extensions. That's the Verizon tower. We're waiting. I didn't want to give them the last extension. I mean, let's get on the stick, guys.
As I mentioned earlier, we have a cell tower going up on Route 35, which by the Lewisboro Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Will it reach portions of Golden's Bridge? We'd have to look at the maps. I think it's probably going to cover most of Cross River. Also understand that cell towers, much like affordable housing and zoning changes, are also very controversial because people perceive them as being unsightly. So while I'm an advocate of putting up cell towers in an adequate amount of space to cover an entire town, because I think it's necessary for emergency services and for safety reasons, it is always a controversial issue. You have the cell tower off of 6A, you have the cell tower that's going up near the Lewisboro Volunteer Ambulance Corps, so we are working on broadening coverage. We'll see when that one goes up, whether or not it expands coverage in Golden's Bridge. Where do you have problems though specifically in Golden's Bridge? Where do you drop balls?
Brady's Farm, behind the fire department.
Grady's Farm
Yeah.
and Manor Drive.
Once you go up 138,
Yeah.
it pretty much drops out, and then you're done.
And this gets back to actually to the cable issue. When 5G comes along, there's potential there that we'll be getting cable TV over your cell phone. So if there's good cell tower coverage, the whole question of renewing cable contracts may be good.
You have your mini cell tower in your house? A little area?
I think it is a matter of waiting to see how the coverage improves when this new tower goes up. And Yeah, I agree. The cable TV is starting to become a little obsolete. I canceled a good bit of my service and going with the streaming.
I don't know if I can just add to that, and maybe Tony can correct me, because I was at the Office of Emergency Management. Regarding the cell coverage, the problem with the area in Golden's Bridge that we live in, which is basically between Todd Road and off of 138, is the terrain and not the height of the new tower they're putting in. So the tower on 35 is not really going to improve that area. There's a couple of dead spots that still remain, including the intersection of 121 and 138. There's something going up in North Salem that will help the 121, 138 intersection, but not where we are. And what they recommended was a mini cell tower to be put somewhere along there, because it's the terrain, we're kind of in a valley right there, and that's why we're not getting the coverage that we need.
Thank you.
Yeah, that, if I could just add, that's correct, Barbara. And if you look at the signal maps for the tower that's going up in Cross River, the fringe of access is gonna be around Todd Road, 138, that area. But we really won't know until the antennas are up. And yes, there's a project going on in North Salem that will help at the 121 and 138 exchange, but south of that, 138 or 121 and Todd Road, we're gonna need another cell tower for that area.
Well, we've got one approved on 138. Somebody's got to get after Verizon to put it up.
Yeah, and it's not only Verizon, it's AT&T,
Well,
T-Mobile, Sprint, right.
they keep coming in front of the planning board asking, push it back, push it back, push it back. And you know, I just would like to address the issue of the controversiality of cell towers. They are controversial.
Yeah, go ahead, just start it.
Okay, great. They are controversial, and I know that the cell tower in Cross River was very controversial. And I know when it came in front of the planning board, there was a lot of flack from the people who live in that area. And I believe one of the people who lived in the Meadows got a petition of 1,000 people asking that cell tower be put into something of a more conducive nature to fit into the community, something of the tree that we may have seen, or something that was a little bit more conducive to our community. And that was just outright and rather rudely refused by this town board. So, you know, if we're going to talk about controversiality of cell towers, let's look to what this town board did to a 1,000-person petition to change the appearance of the cell tower in Cross River.
So let's clarify the facts on that issue, okay? Because these are the facts on that issue, all right? We had multiple public hearings relative to the type and character of the cell tower that we were going to install. That's a fact. We had countless numbers of people coming out and voicing their opinion. Before we agreed to the character of the cell tower that was going to be erected, we took enormous amounts of opinions relative